All right, let's get right into this one. Imagine this. You've got 100 professional pilots, one absolutely mind-blowing prize, and a series of challenges so intense they literally shut down an entire city. Seriously, this was way more than just a competition. It was a modern-day gauntlet built to test strength, strategy, and just how far a person will push themselves.
So, what was the prize that brought all these people together? Well, take a look at this number. We're talking about a private jet valued at a staggering $2.4 million. And no, this wasn't some cash prize, it was the actual jet, a truly life-changing reward.
The idea behind the whole thing was so simple but so brutal. You start with 100 pilots, but only one is walking away with the keys. The last person standing after a whole battery of grueling tests for your body and your mind would get to fly away in that jet. Now, the competition kicked off with a phase that had one goal and one goal only: cut down the number of contestants fast. And the way they did it was with pure, raw physical strength. I mean, the scale of this first challenge was just insane. The 100 pilots get split into 3 teams, and each team had to pull a 40,000-pound plane. Think about that. And here's the kicker. Only the winning team moves on. Just like that, in one single challenge, 2/3 of the competition, 67 pilots, were gone. So for the pilots who were left, they faced a challenge with a pretty wicked sense of irony. The very jet they were all fighting to win was about to be turned against them. They called it the jet spinner. The 33 remaining contestants had to stand on these little platforms while the jet's engines blasted them with 60-mile-per-hour winds. Your only job? Just hold on. But that force was just too much for a lot of them, and another 15 pilots were literally blown right out of the competition, leaving only 18.
And this quote from one of the eliminated pilots really tells you everything. He thought it would be just a strong wind, but he said it felt like a physical punch to the chest. Once you're off balance from a blow like that, there's just no recovering.
So, with the herd thinned out by all the tests of strength, the whole competition just pivoted. The next phase wasn't about who was the strongest anymore. Oh no, it was about who was the most cunning. It turned into this high-stakes game of psychology. You know, like a real-life prisoner's dilemma, where trust and lying were the only things that mattered. Okay, so this next game was all about deception. 2 pilots go head-to-head. One of them gets to look inside a briefcase. It either says jump to the next round or eliminate. Then they have to convince their opponent what's inside, and that opponent has to decide, do I trust this person or do I steal the briefcase for myself? And right away, 2 totally different strategies popped up. You had some pilots who were just brutally honest, talking about their professional integrity. Some of them even gave away winning briefcases and got themselves eliminated because of it. And then you had the others who figured out pretty quick that in this game, lying was a really powerful and really successful way to move on. And as fewer jump briefcases were left, the paranoia just went through the roof. I mean, trust completely fell apart. Every word was questioned, every little action was analyzed, and through this total pressure cooker of mistrust, the group was whittled down to the final 10, who then parachuted down to the final battleground. The final stage was a straight-up spectacle. The location? The middle of a major freeway in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And this wasn't about speed or skill, it was a pure war of attrition. A marathon of willpower designed to find the one person who just would not quit. The rule was so simple, it was almost poetic and torturous. Put one hand on that multi-million-dollar jet. Do not take it off. The last person with their hand still on the plane wins. That's it. That's the whole game. But you know, it wasn't going to stay that simple for long. To make people quit, they just kept ramping up the difficulty. First, they went from standing still to walking, then running alongside the moving jet in that Saudi heat. They offered 50 grand in cash for the next person to quit. And then they introduced a button where the contestants themselves could vote to add new, harder rules, like having to stand on one foot or only using a single finger to touch the plane. The physical toll was just immense. As one contestant, Samuel, put it, he pushed his body so hard that his vision went completely white and he just passed out. He didn't choose to quit. His body literally quit on him. That's the level of commitment we're talking about here. So after more than 22 hours, only 3 incredibly stubborn contestants were left. And just when they thought it was just a waiting game, the rules changed. Completely. The physical test was officially over. A new, psychological battle was just about to start. A 1-hour timer appears with a shocking twist. The final 3 had to agree unanimously on who should win the jet.
If more than one hand was on that plane when the clock hit 0, nobody would win. The pressure of that ticking clock was just enormous, and it led to arguments, emotional stories, and a frantic search for some kind of solution before they all lost.
And the whole disagreement boiled down to this. One guy absolutely demanded a final skill-based challenge. He believed the winner had to earn it. The other two, totally exhausted, said, "No way, let's do a game of pure chance. It's the only fair way to break the tie." It was this fascinating clash of ideas under extreme pressure, the philosophy of earning it versus just trying to survive.
The argument went back and forth, and that clock just kept ticking down to the final minutes. They had no agreement. They were completely backed into a corner. The only option they had left was to drop their arguments and put all their trust in each other for one last winner-take-all game of luck.
And in that final game of chance, Tariq picked the right briefcase. Now, the other two could have just kept their hands on the plane, right? They could have made sure nobody won. But they didn't. They actually honored their last-second deal, took their hands off the jet, and just like that, Tariq was the owner of a new private jet.
And that really brings us to the final question, for you. After going through days of these brutal physical and mental challenges, with a multi-million-dollar prize just inches away, could you bring yourself to trust your rivals in a final gamble? Or would you hold on, refuse to lose, even if you knew it meant that everyone, including you, would walk away with absolutely nothing?